You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. All right, folks, Virginia, they're going to be going to the polls tomorrow to elect candidates in the primary. And one of the races everybody's focused on is the governor's race. There are a number of candidates who are running, including former Governor Terry McAuliffe. Look at the polls. He is leading in a significant way. You also have Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax, who's also running. And then you have two black women. One of them is Jennifer McClellan. We had one of the candidates on last week. McClellan joins us right now. I'm glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Of course, she represented the greater Richmond area for 11 years in the House of Delegates and for 4 years in the Senate. She also serves as vice chair of the Virginia Black Caucus. Glad to have you on the show. Final stages. How are you making the case for the folks in Virginia to vote for you, looking at polling data that shows a huge lead by the former Governor Terry McAuliffe?
Well, we are not undaunted by polls that only talk to about 600 people. We have been talking to hundreds of thousands of Virginians at their doors, on the phones, and our field numbers look really great, and they're excited for a new perspective, the next generation of leadership, a black woman, and someone who has experience both in the party and governing to get things done on day one and to win in November.
Obviously, when you look at the number of people who are running, having 3 African Americans running is something that we rarely ever see. And some folks are saying that splitting the black vote in Democratic primary, making it easier for McAuliffe to coast to victory. What would you say to that?
I would say that I am building a broad coalition of Virginia voters of all walks of life, of all races, of all backgrounds, of all ages, and we are poised to win. And I'm just excited, and Virginia is excited to make history and build a stronger future.
When you talk about the issues that are most important, what jumps out? What are you conveying to black voters? That's certainly our audience.
Well, you know, we have got to rebuild our economy, our healthcare and economic safety nets, and our education system in a way that addresses the inequity that was already there before COVID. And we need to do it in a way that doesn't just create a seat at the table for the black community, but takes the policymaking table out into our communities, centering our communities and perspectives. And so we need to build on the progress we've made in the past couple of years as we navigate through this reckoning with racial injustice, which here in Virginia started before this summer. And so we are ready for someone who brings that perspective, and that's how we get things done.
Questions for my panel. First off, Julianne Malvo, your question for Jennifer McClellan.
Hi, Jennifer. It's good to see you again. Good luck tomorrow.
See you.
My question, you have 2 black women in this race. And of course, as Roland said, we very rarely see 3 black candidates. Did you all ever have any conversation about perhaps one of you not running so that the black vote could be more consolidated?
We had conversations, but, you know, people decide to run based on what they think they can bring, and no one ever questions 2 white men running together or 2 white women. And so my campaign just focused on building a broad coalition, focusing on the work that I have been doing for 16 years almost in the legislature and 31 years in the party and in the community. And we're just running on that record and running on that experience.
Great.
Question, Makongo?
Well, I wish you the best of luck in this election runoff tomorrow. I really feel like you have a very strong platform. And my question is related to education. Coming off of the pandemic, where there were so many conversations about students who were not getting access to the same level of resources, now we're coming into a situation going into the fall where students are coming back, and people are talking about it as if it's going to be this safe haven for students. But we know that many of our black students in particular are going to be coming back into a system where they're disciplined more, where they don't have culturally relevant instruction. What are some of your thoughts as it relates to what we need to do going into the fall to make sure that our black students and other students in neighborhoods where they may not have the best resources are getting what they need in our educational system in Virginia?
Well, on the school to prison pipeline and disproportionate discipline and referral to law enforcement, I'm going to build on the progress that I made carrying legislation to begin to break that. But we've got to make sure we are fully funding our education system, getting support personnel back in our schools, our nurses, our mental health professionals, our social workers, our guidance counselors, to provide some of the wraparound services that our students need, especially those that face trauma every day. And we got to make sure we're funding it in a way that doesn't depend on what zip code you're in, because we know those zip codes are based on policy decisions long ago, whether it was redlining or segregation itself, that had communities that are cut off from economic opportunity. And those legacies didn't go away with the magic wand. We have got to intentionally fund our education system in a way that addresses that inequity, and also make sure the buildings aren't falling down, and having the state fund construction and renovation of schools that are falling apart, many of them in our communities.
Michael Brown, your question for Jennifer McClellan.
Well, Senator, good luck, and we wish you well. Question, not to get too much in the weeds of kind of what your data shows, but clearly one of the reasons, I'm not saying the only reason, but one of the reasons Virginia has become blue is because of Northern Virginia. Northern Virginia is becoming obviously the tail that wags the dog in Virginia, at least if you listen to a lot of the Northern Virginia politicians. How are you doing, I'm in DC, how are you doing up here in the Northern Virginia part of the state? I know you're probably going to do well in Tidewater, obviously, and Hampton Roads and all that, but how about up here where obviously there's so many voters that vote, and how are you participating and working out up here?
I'm doing very well. There's a lot of excitement. I've been up in Northern Virginia a lot. The straw poll, Fairfax County is the largest county, and their Democratic committee, I won that straw poll handily. It was ranked choice voting, but I won every round. Some of the magisterial districts up there had straw polls. I won those. But our ground game has been very strong in Northern Virginia as well as other parts of the state. And the excitement that we see up there is palpable. But we're not leaving any part of Virginia behind, because in a contested primary, there are votes everywhere. And I've also been to parts of the state that no other candidate has gone and hasn't gone in a very long time.
Well, good. Again, good luck, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
So last question, and that is this here. Obviously, folks are going to the polls tomorrow, and so where will you be? What will you be doing? And another thing that also jumped out that I was curious about in terms of when we look at contracts and things along those lines, what your plan is for African Americans when it comes to getting business in the state of Virginia.
Well, first of all, we have had disparity study after disparity study, but we've never implemented all of the recommendations. So that's the first step. We're in the middle of a disparity study now. I'll make sure the recommendations get implemented. We had a bill that I co-patroned that almost passed during this past session, but Republicans blocked it on a procedural vote. So as governor, I will make sure we get that in to really make procurement more fair for our SWAM businesses. But we've also got to make sure our SWAM businesses have access to capital. That was a problem before COVID. It's definitely a problem now.
All right, then. Well, certainly good luck. And we'll be watching to see what transpires tomorrow in Virginia.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right. Thank you so very much.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Racial injustice is a scourge on this nation, and the Black community has felt it for generations. We have an obligation to do something about it. Whether it's canceling student debt, increasing the minimum wage, or investing in Black-owned businesses, the Black community deserves so much better. I'm Nina Turner, and I'm running for Congress to do something about it.